A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a landmark decision, a higher regional court in Hamm, Germany, has rejected a lawsuit filed by Peruvian farmer Saúl Luciano Lliuya against energy giant RWE. The case has drawn significant attention as it highlights the ongoing debate surrounding corporate responsibility for climate change. Lliuya has claimed that RWE's emissions have contributed to the melting of glaciers in Peru, which poses a severe flood risk to his hometown of Huaraz. He sought €17,000 in compensation to fund a flood defense project aimed at protecting the city from potential disasters linked to climate change. The court's ruling, delivered on Wednesday, effectively ends Lliuya's decade-long legal battle, as it barred any further appeals. RWE argued that it does not operate in Peru and questioned why it was specifically targeted in this case. The company also pointed to its commitment to phase out coal-fired power plants and achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. Despite the court's decision to reject Lliuya's claim, it did acknowledge that energy companies could be held accountable for the costs associated with their carbon emissions. This aspect of the ruling has been celebrated by climate change activists, who view it as a significant step towards holding powerful corporations accountable for their contributions to global warming. Lliuya, a 44-year-old mountain guide and farmer, has witnessed firsthand the impacts of climate change in his region. He reported that Lake Palcacoca, located above Huaraz, has quadrupled in volume since 2003. The rising temperatures threaten the stability of the glacier, raising concerns that ice blocks could break off and cause catastrophic flooding. Lliuya argued that emissions from RWE are directly linked to the temperature increases in the Peruvian mountains, and he sought damages to help finance protective measures for his community. The case gained momentum after Lliuya's initial claim was dismissed by a lower court in 2015, which stated that no single company could be held accountable for climate change. However, in a surprising turn of events, Lliuya's appeal was accepted in 2017, allowing the case to move forward and sparking a broader discussion about corporate responsibility for climate-related damages. RWE's defense highlighted that the amount Lliuya sought was relatively small, yet the implications of the case have resonated deeply within the environmental community. Germanwatch, an environmental NGO that supported Lliuya's case, hailed the court's ruling as a historic moment. They emphasized that while the specific claim was dismissed, the court's acknowledgement of potential liability for major emitters under German civil law could set a precedent for future cases. The judges determined that the flood risk to Lliuya's property was not substantial enough to allow the case to proceed. However, they stated that companies might have an obligation to take preventive actions against the risks associated with their emissions. This ruling could pave the way for future claims against other fossil fuel companies, as it opens the door for individuals and communities to seek justice for the impacts of climate change. Lliuya expressed disappointment over the court's decision, but remained optimistic about the broader implications of the ruling. He described it as a milestone that could empower others to pursue similar claims against corporations contributing to climate change. His lawyer, Rhoda Verheyen, echoed this sentiment, noting that the ruling signifies that large emitters could be held accountable for the consequences of their greenhouse gas emissions. RWE's response to the ruling reiterated its stance that civil climate liability is inadmissible under German law. The company raised concerns that establishing such liability could hinder its business operations in Germany and lead to an influx of claims related to climate change. As the world grapples with the urgent challenges posed by climate change, this case represents a critical moment in the ongoing struggle for accountability among major polluters. While the court ultimately ruled against Lliuya's specific claim, the recognition of potential liability for emissions could inspire further legal challenges and push for greater corporate responsibility in addressing the climate crisis. The decision is likely to resonate beyond Germany, influencing climate litigation efforts globally as communities seek to hold corporations accountable for their contributions to environmental degradation. As the impacts of climate change become increasingly evident, the fight for justice and accountability continues, with activists and legal advocates hopeful that this case will serve as a catalyst for change. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.